Okay, so today is September 28th. It is Thursday, and it is the last Thursday of the month. So, what I try to do on either the last Thursday of the month or the first Thursday of the month, if I forgot, is just kind of do a month in review. It's like, this is a lot of the stuff that happened to me this month. This is how I did on a lot of my projects, like the shows I was watching, how I did on the stuff I was reading, etc., etc. Excuse me. And then looking forward to the next month. Like, here's some of the things that I'm planning on doing or continuing next month. Things like that. With September, I'm going to be doing that. And then after I talk about, like, this is the stuff I did, this is the stuff I'm hoping to do, I'm going to talk about some personal stuff. And I definitely want to save it for the end of the video, because some of it is pretty heavy. And I don't want to, like, talk about that and go, cool, so these are now the, like, all, like, I watched fucking Licorice Recoil. It's like, that, I don't think I can do that. But I want to go, it's like, if you want the normal kind of room talk, I always still, in my notes, I think I've said this before, like, I've essentially said I don't really want to go back to the car. It's far more comfortable in my room. I was only doing the car because I didn't want to be in the house recording when other people were here, because I was like, I feel so self-conscious. But now I've been doing it for so long that I'm like, yeah, if people are here, it is what it is. There's times when Jose will just open the door because he wants to use the shower or something, because my room has the only fucking working shower in the house. And he'll, like, see me record and be like, oh. Like, he'll just kind of, like, give me a signal and go back because he does not want to be in the video at all. So clearly I'm more okay with it. But I always write it as CTT for Car Talk Thursday, even though they're more Room Talk Thursdays at this point. There will be an exception, though. I don't know when it's going to happen. There is going to be a very specific video I will do in the car, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But if you want the regular Room Talk Thursday experience, you will get that. And then I will let you know when I'm going to transition into the far more personal aspect of it. But starting with September in review of just stuff. The number one thing for me is this month was very productive, and it was really off at the same time. It was productive because, like, I love getting shit crossed off my list. Earlier this year, I know I probably talked about this before, I watched the film My Dinner with Andre, which is fantastic. And there's a line in the movie where Wallace Shawn is talking about how, like, you know, there's few things that give me more satisfaction than crossing something off a list. And I'm like, there's a man after my own heart. Finally, someone gets it. There. Like, I love crossing things off a list. I love having lists. I am such an anal person. Like, it's important to me. So, this month was super productive because I was able to just be like, okay, this done. We are making progress. We are crossing shit off. But it felt off. Some of it was genuinely, like, I was able to complete a lot of projects, but some of them weren't just, it's off the list because it's completed. It's off the list because it was dropped. I was like, I can't wait to try this. Never mind, I don't like it. Well, it's off the list. Let's try something new. I didn't really like this either. There was, like, this kind of, it was almost like September felt cursed, which we'll get to, but it was something that was kind of permeating. So, like, looking at, I guess, kind of category by category, my creative projects, I wanted to finish editing 2 chapters of the script, like, for the VN, and I did that. I actually finished chapter 5 out of 11 yesterday, so we're almost halfway through it. I am hoping to have a completed script, at least like a first draft, by the end of the year. So hopefully sometime in December, like the last week or the penultimate week of December, that'll be done. Then, you know, I do want to make a few other passes at the script. What are, like, a lot of the sprites that I've written down? It's like, I want this kind of sprite, I want this kind of sprite. What are the ones that I just don't need? It's like they didn't show up as much as I thought they would. I can kind of trim those down, I can cut those down. It's like, which are the ones that are recurring enough that I want to keep, or if they only show up a couple times, there's a reason it only shows up once or twice. Like, it's a very unique sprite, and even then, would it be better to have it as a CG, assuming we, like, that we can afford that with the budget, etc., etc. So I was able to make good progress on that. When it comes to artists, reached out to a lot. I wasn't hearing back from a lot of people, and it's, if I hear back from someone and the answer is no, it's like, unfortunately, I'm too busy at the moment, or we discuss pricing and it's just out of my price range. Like, that's completely understandable. But it's so deflating to not get a response at all. And I mean, not to say it's like, oh, I'm not like entitled to their time or anything. It is just like, man, this is like an art style that I really like, and like I feel like this is something that could really work. And well, I guess I've been barking up that tree. There was no use barking up that tree. Fuck. And when it happens, it's the same thing with like sending query letters. It's like, it's one thing to get rejected, which sucks. You don't like it. It feels even worse to just not hear anything. Like, man, if you didn't like it, you didn't like it, but like, I wasn't even worth your time, huh? I started sending those out again, by the way. I sent a handful. I got one response the other day, which was a rejection. I'm gonna try to send some more. I don't know, maybe later today, maybe sometime tomorrow. Not a hundo when I'm gonna have my next like query session, but I'm on the one hand, like, I'm looking forward to doing it. On the other hand, I'm like, I kind of don't want to have to, but I need to do it. It's important for me to do it, so I'm gonna do that. But I have actually heard back from a couple artists. There's one I've been in actually pretty extensive communication with throughout the week, so I should be getting, like, we've been kind of hashing out the commission details and like the price, which we're Gucci on, so hopefully they'll get to start that pretty soon. Reached out to another artist who I didn't get a response from them. I got a response from their managers. I was like, okay, like that. This feels like very professional. Like I actually really kind of dig this. This does not bode well for my wallet. Like I don't think this one's gonna go well. I think this is probably gonna be way out of my price range. Which, if so, again, it is what it is. Completely understandable. Charge me what you're worth. If I can't afford it, I can't afford it. That sucks for me. But you do what you gotta do. But I'm like, I hope I can, because I really, really love their art. And like, it's so fucking good. It's so cool. It's like, to get a character design, I would love it. But that's another creative projects one. Looking at games, so technically I finished Xenosaga Episode 1 in September. The vast majority of it was played in August. Maybe I technically did play the last game in August. That was like right before. I think it was right after September. So like, there's that. Which, as I said in my review of the game, I liked it quite a bit. There's a lot of things, though, that don't quite work. It's like a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, which adds up. But I still enjoyed the game. Before playing Xenosaga 2, I was like, I really want to, I really need to, but fuck. I've been watching Wyatt play Persona 5. I've been watching Chris play Persona 4. I've got the Persona itch, man. So I booted up Strikers. I was like, I've been looking forward to playing this. It's kind of Persona 5 2, or almost like Persona 1.5 or some shit. I know it's going to play very differently, but it's still more P5. I love the world. I love the characters. I love its style. I love its presentation. This is going to be fantastic. And I dropped it after the first arc. It looks like P5. The writing and the characters is like this. It very much does feel like this is more Persona 5. But there's no time management. There's no social links. There's no turn-based combat. And doing the Muso combat, fighting wave after wave of enemy, it feels so hollow. And just, for me personally, like, this is boring. It's kind of cool for a little bit. And then I'm just like, okay, am I done now? Because it's also a Persona game. Like, there's not a whole lot of SP recovery, at least, like, not in the first arc. And when you're doing wave after wave after wave after wave of enemies, I'm like, I feel like I am burning through my SP really fucking quick. And granted, it's like, oh yeah, well, you can just leave and then come back and you'll be fully restored with no penalty, which that just feels wrong. I don't like it. I'm just like, I don't like the way this is designed from a gameplay standpoint. It doesn't scratch that itch. This doesn't, it looks like Persona, but it's not Persona. Like, part of the things that really make a Persona game to me a Persona game, it's like basically the entire gameplay of it. It's like, it's not here. I'm good. So after that, I was like, okay, I need to play Xenosaga 2. But the Pokemon DLC comes out in a couple days. And as soon as that comes out, I'm like dropping everything to play Pokemon for a couple days. It's gonna happen. So maybe let's try to get something else done, something quick. Clay beat Earthbound in like a week and a half. You know, I have a lot of free time. Like, it's been on the list. I need to play it. Let's get this shit done. And it did not click for me at all. I could not get into it. I've seen people play Earthbound. I've heard people talk about Earthbound. And whenever I would like watch gameplay or hear people talking about the gameplay and the experience, I always just thought, it doesn't sound like I would enjoy it. Like, I might appreciate the sense of humor. Like, there might be like little things here that are like, oh, that's pretty funny or that's pretty interesting. Like, some of the conversations in Magic I think are really interesting. And of course, the fucking ending. But I'm like, but the things in the game that I think are really interesting, I've already seen. And a lot of, like, the other, like, kind of weird shit that happens, I already know about it, so the joke is ruined. And kind of, in a way, the experience is ruined. And from watching Clay, like, play a lot of the game, I think I even asked a couple times, like, are you having fun? Like, yeah, I'm having fun. Like, it's not fantastic gameplay-wise, but, like, I think it's fine. Like, the rolling health meter system is a really interesting idea. But in the early part of the game where you don't have a lot of health, it doesn't really come into play. So it just feels really basic. And I was just like, I'm not having fun. I don't really want to do this anymore. So I'm just gonna cross it off the list. Then I played the Teal Mask. I had a lot of fun with it. It runs like ass. I said it in my like review of it. I'm like, there's a lot of things in here I like. It is not without its problems. But I had a good time with it. But so it's again, I was like, except like I got to cross something off the list. I crossed like 4 games off. Well, one was basically not a September game. Then it was drop, and then I beat it really quickly. So then it was time to play Xenosaga 2. And after playing about an hour, like, I had stopped. It was kind of like the end of my session, and I was like, man, I don't know about this. The game just looks nasty. Like, the way everyone is redesigned and the new art styles, like, I know I'm gonna have to. Like, I don't want to drop it after just, like, an hour. But boy, it looks nasty. The gameplay feels weird. Now, maybe after playing it more, I'll get used to the system. I'll think the system's really fun. From what I've heard, people kind of fucking hate this gameplay. But maybe I will like it. Who knows? But I loved the combat in the first game. It has its problems, generally in the way, like, bosses are designed. But the actual, like, this is how the combat works. This is how you manage your turns and shit. I found incredibly fun and incredibly engaging. And then this game said, cool, so we're going to take what worked incredibly well and completely overcomplicate it to the point where I'm not really sure what the fuck is happening. Like, I can tell what's happening, but I'm like, what? Huh? I think maybe you made mech combat good, but why did you fuck up the ground combat? Like, that was really fun. What is this shit? So I had played it, and then as that week went on, I just kept not which granted, a lot of that was because that was like the really bad week. But it was also just like, I don't really want to. So I haven't dropped it, but I have put a massive pin in it because the translation for Kuro 2, or I guess since we now have official name for the translation, Trails Through Daybreak 2, is done. So I started playing that. So when I had said there's going to be a video at some point that'll be in my car, it's going to be when I do my review of Kuro 2. It's not going to be anytime soon. I'm still like chapter 1, side 2. I don't know when the fuck I'm going to finish it. But every other Trails video that I did, I was in the car for it. So I feel like when it's time for this video, it's like, all right, that's a tradition. I sit in my car for like 2 hours holding my phone. My arm starts to get numb and super uncomfortable, but I've got to do it. I'm looking forward to reviewing Kuro 2 in my car. But that's my game progress for September. So it's progress, but it just felt kind of off. In terms of shows, Clay and I are still watching Stone Ocean just because of our, like, the schedule overlap. We don't have as much time, and it's like, cool, like, we're available, we can watch Stone Ocean, but then I'm like, well, I have shit I want to do, or I'll be down for it, but, like, he's got shit he's got to do, and it's completely understandable. But at some point, we're going to finish it, hopefully next month, but we're going through that. We are on the last core. I think the last thing we watched was Bohemian Rhapsody. I did finish, I watched the second core of Witch from Mercury. I loved it. I watched Licorice Recoil. I was thoroughly unimpressed, and kind of the more I sit on it, like, just the more unimpressed with it I am, sad to say. I watched Sonny Boy. Might be the best thing I've seen this year. I mean, you know how much I fucking love Symphogear, but Sonny Boy was, like, perfection. Actually, kind of, yeah. I was like, do I really? No, like, the weird thing when sometimes people wouldn't have a face. It's like, that's like the one thing I can think of that I just did not care for. It's like that one artistic decision I didn't really like. I basically loved everything else. I've listened to that ending song a lot. I've, like, rewatched the scene from episode 12. I won't go into specifics. But, that scene from episode 12 when the Toe song plays, I've watched that a couple times. That's probably my favorite scene in the show. It's a fucking work of art. And something I actually haven't talked about on the channel is... Oh, I didn't write any movies down I watched in September, because I think I watched RRR in September. I completely forgot to talk about movies. Whoops. But, I watched White Lotus. I didn't finish White Lotus, because I had seen episode 1 some time ago. It was either early this year or late last year, and I did not get into it. I was like, I put it on my list of shit to watch. I'm kind of I'm interested in it. I've heard it starts slow, but it's really good. Let me just read the plot summary for episode 1 real quick to kind of refresh myself. Like, okay, I remember that. Got it. So then, on one of these days, I watched episodes 2, 3, and 4. There's 6 total. So I watched half the show in one sitting, and in general, I had seen 2/3 of it. And the more I watched it, the more I was just... It's not even like I don't get it, because, like, I feel like I get what the show was going for, but I'm like, it's not doing anything for me. It's like, do I find these characters... I think the show I want to compare it to is School Days, where when you watch School Days, it's like every character in the show is either really horribly unsympathetic, really stupid, or both. Kotonoha's like maybe the one exception to that, because she's just like a really nice person, but then, you know, like the shit that happens at the end, you're like, wow, I don't know about that, Chief. Like watching White Lotus, I'm like, do I find these people like sympathetic? Maybe like a couple of them, but not really. Okay, well, do I find them interesting though? Because even if you don't really sympathize with someone, you can still be like, they're such an interesting person to watch. They're really fun to watch. Like they're consistently entertaining. I'm like, not really. Like there's some funny lines, like some really good interactions. Like there's a scene where, I think his name was Mark, like the father is talking to, is it Armand, the concierge. And he's like, yeah, like I just found out my father was gay and it's like he died of AIDS and it turns out he was having sex with men. To which the concierge says, he's like, yeah, you know what? That is one of the indicators of being gay. I was like, that's a funny line. There are moments like that, and then there's just like dumb shit. Like, I think his name was Quinn, was the brother. He's supposed to sleep in the same room as his sister and her sister's friend, which I did not like those two at all. And they're like, we don't want you in. And it's a big room, by the way. It's not like a small room at like share a bed or something. It's a massive fucking room. And then they're like, we don't want you here. Fine, I'll go sleep on the beach. So he leaves, because they're in Hawaii. Like he leaves the hotel and goes to sit on the beach and sleep. Which I'm like, you know what? He sticks to his guns. That's pretty funny. He wakes up the next day and then is like, oh my God, no, all my shit washed away. It got carried off by the ocean. Like, I don't have my Switch anymore. My iPad is wet. No. And I'm like, you brought all of that to the beach? Why? I mean, first off, I'm the kind of person that if I'm going on a vacation for like a couple days, I'm not going to bring my fucking Switch. I don't want to lose it. Like, if I'm going somewhere for a short amount of time, like, if I'm going somewhere for, like, several weeks, sure, I might bring my shit with me. But if I'm only going somewhere for, like, a week or less, like, no, I don't want to, like, on the cruise, I didn't bring my Switch. I didn't bring my computer. It's like, I don't want to bring anything, with the exception of, like, my notebook, that I'm going to be heartbroken if I lose it. Like, aside from my phone. Like, I'm going to bring my phone with me, of course. It's like, I don't want to bring shit that I will miss. Let me keep them at home where I don't have to risk forgetting them, someone stealing them, like somehow dropping it in the ocean or whatever. So the fact that he brought it with him at all, I'm like, that's... It's like, I know people do that. It's just not something I personally do. The fact that you brought it down to the beach while you were sleeping so it could get washed away by the tide. Someone could see your shit, grab it. Like, why did you just leave it in the room? You're just going to sleep. You need a cuddle with your... What the fuck? No, I don't feel sympathy for you. This is stupid. This is actively moronic. What the fuck? And I feel like I'm consistently thinking that throughout the show. Like, I don't like any of you. Even, I don't remember her name, but the Jennifer Coolidge, Tanya, I think is her name. I'm like, you're a nice person, but you just come across as like so obnoxious. Like, you're innocently obnoxious, but you're still just kind of obnoxious. And, So I was like, I don't want to watch these last two episodes. What the fuck happens? Like, I want to know what happens because I just spent 3 fucking hours of my life watching this show. I might as well see where it goes. Okay, that's what happens. Sure, I don't care. If you watched it and loved it, that's awesome. Like, again, like, it's something I try to make clear when I talk about things, even things I don't like. If you like something I don't like, it doesn't mean I think you're dumb. It doesn't mean I think you have, like, a terrible opinion. Maybe depending on why you like something. Like, I feel like that could be a thing. It's like, if you like something for... I feel like this is it. Like, if you can genuinely articulate, like, this is why I liked it. And even if it's not... If it's just like, ew, it's a vibe thing. Like, that's fine. This show just didn't work for me on almost any level. The Curse of September struck again. Hey, Bob. Then it was books, which, yeah, I dropped reading Mistborn 3. After, like, several weeks of barely reading it, and when I did, I just wasn't getting into it. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like I'm wasting my time making this my reading project because I'm not reading it at the expense of other things. And when I am reading it, I'm not enjoying it. And I don't want to force myself to read it because then I'm not going to enjoy it. Which is really sad because I loved book 1. I loved most of book 2. And then the ending, I was like, and then reading book 3, the entire way, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. I started Dune, though. I think I'm at a page like 190, something like that. So I'm close to 200 pages in of about 600. I'm liking it a lot. It feels like I feel like the last couple chapters I read were at least 85%, if not 95%, just people talking. And it's wonderful. I love it. It's like, I love the way these people talk to each other. I like how they can, like, suss out what people are really trying to say. Like, I just had this scene with Jessica and I can't remember his name. It's like Thurfter Hawat, something like that, but it's the family's mentat, and she's having this intense, I don't even know if I want to say interrogation, but the two of them, it's like, he is sus of her, and she's like, I trust you wholeheartedly, but I know you don't trust me, and I'm upset about that. And them going over their disagreements. Like, this is awesome. I am loving this. Jessica is probably my favorite character in the book so far. Dune is great. I don't know how interested I am in reading the rest of the series. Like, I feel like just reading the first book, Dune, is like, that is something I need to read. It's like I feel like it's one of those, like, if you like, I mean, it's not a fantasy book, it's a sci-fi book, but like the kind of sci-fi fantasy mishmash, it's the kind of thing you should read. So I'm glad that I'm doing it. Depending on how it ends, I might be like, fuck, I gotta read the rest of these, or it might be like, you know what, I think I'm good with just reading the first book. We'll see, but I'm liking the first book a lot. And other things to say. Survivor started back up yesterday. Was an interesting first episode. It was, I don't want to say the episode was a hot mess, but Lulu, the Yellow Tribe, was very much a hot mess tribe, and we really didn't even get a vote out because it was someone who had quit. And there is a part of me that says, you know what? I can't judge her, Hannah, because I have not been out there on that island. I've applied. I sent an application in like a few months ago. I want to, but I haven't experienced it for myself. So yeah, sitting there on my couch in a nice chair here in my room, where I can get food if I want. I can go sit on a toilet when I need to go to the bathroom and not poop in the ocean like Jam did. like shit like that. I'm like, pun intended. I know it's a lot harder than it looks. And it's not for everyone. There are people who can do it with no issue. There are other people who are like this. I thought I would like it, but it's just not clicking with me. And I feel like, yeah, like I can feel empathy for that. Like, I'm not a fucking robot, I'm not a monster. I'm sorry that there was something that you really wanted, kind of, it seems like a life dream of yours, was just not something that was for you ultimately. On the other hand, there is that part of me that goes, you took someone's spot though. That's someone who wanted to be there, who might have really fought to stay there. And that person had to watch you quit from their couch, from their own home. So like I said, it's like there's there's that part, like, I don't want to, like, I have, like, no hatred toward her or anything. I don't want to, like, send her hate mail or death threats and be like, you're an awful person, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. But there is that sense of, like, I hate seeing you out there because you didn't want to be out there, and I know there's people, like myself included, who would have wanted that spot. That's what sucks. I can feel empathy for someone, but still be mad at that situation. And I think I even read something where Jeff had essentially said, like, okay, that's on us for casting someone who quit that early. We need to know, like, we need to be better about sussing out that kind of stuff. Generally, we have been, but we need to figure out what went wrong here. So there's that. Football started back up, and I mean, if you've seen some of my recent videos, you know I'm very passionate about that. You know I care about it. I'm really happy. And I think it was yesterday, Konosuba Season 3 was announced, and I fucking love Konosuba. I'm excited to see more of that fucking train wreck. I mean that in the best possible way, not like Konosuba's a train wreck, it's terrible. It's like, no, that party is a fucking train wreck, and that's why we love them. Gosh, the movie was fantastic. So that was September. Looking ahead to October. So it's the spooky month. Gotta do that stupid video. I love that video. I can't wait for October 1st. Like, I'm gonna send that shit to Billy. Billy's gonna send that shit to me. It's just what we do. But in terms of my creative projects, nothing's really going to change. I still would like to get 2 chapters done in the month. What I really want to do is a chapter every other week. So, like, I finished chapter 5 this week. So next week is an off week. I don't need to finish chapter 6. I would like to start it. Maybe I'll start it this week. Probably not. But like sometime next week, start it, get some work done, and then the week after, really focus on it. Chapter 6 and chapter 7. Real excited for chapter 7. That's one of my, like, oh gosh, that's like the more or less the halfway point of the story. And that's from that point onwards, I'm like, oh, like, fuck, the narrative gets so good. It's like, I still like the other shit. Don't get me wrong. I think it's still good. I think it's still interesting. The prologue's one of my favorite chapters of it. But it's like, this is when everything hits the fan, and it just kind of doesn't stop. It takes, like, one break, and then goes into the finale. I love it so much. Can't wait to do that. Sending more queries. Possibly doing more commission-y artist stuff. I'm not sure. Oh, something I did forget to say. Another September thing. Like, I might be getting another job soon, because, like, I've still been applying to places, but I had a place actually respond and say, oh, you know, like, we really liked your resume, please go ahead and send your application on our website, which I did. Please, like, reach out to this person with times to be able to interview, which I did. Potentially, I could be getting something, which does mean I wouldn't have as much time for things, which sucks, but it means I make money, and I can better afford, like, my stuff and, like, pay down my credit card and all my student loans, and that means I have more of a budget for, like, artists and shit. So, like, I think that's a good trade-off. But I'm for creative shit, queries, potentially more like artist commission-y stuff, and the chapters. For shows, obviously, I'm going to be watching fucking Survivor throughout October. Chucky Season 3 comes back in October. I'm really fucking excited to watch more Chucky. And I want to watch the 2nd season of Shadow's House, because I watched Season 1 last year, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a definitely kind of October-themed show. Like, it's not maybe quite... It's horror, or at least it's very gothic. So I feel like it's something that really fits. And when I'm done with that, because it's only 1 cour, I could probably get that done quick. Monster. Because I've been wanting to watch or read Monster for quite a while. And I'm like, yeah, it's a show about hunting a serial killer. That's pretty October-y. Like, you're dealing with, like, death and shit. Like, I feel like that one works. I probably won't finish Monster in October, but I do want to start at them. In terms of games, playing Kuro 2, that's not really October themed. I kind of wanted to save it till November, honestly, but I couldn't resist. But the more October-y themed games I want to play are BioShock, because I've never played the original BioShock, and like, yeah, that's a fucking horror game. AI The Somnium Files 2. And it's not really like it's not a horror game, unless it's like the tone has changed dramatically since the first one. But at least the first game was, again, it's a murder mystery, it's a detective story, and I feel like, yeah, I can see the Octoberness in that. Octoberness. I can see the Octoberness in that, though. So I feel like Somnium Files, again, that might end up being closer to maybe in November because Kuro's got to take a while. But BioShock should be pretty fucking quick. Then I want to do AI. And for reading projects, Dune, because that's what I'm reading now and I'm really liking it. When that's done, Onikakushi. I don't know how much of Higurashi I'm gonna read, because Onikakushi is the only one that I currently own, but I at least want to read that one. Maybe I'll get like another one and read it. And I don't remember what it's called. It's that other VN that I got during the VN sale. I really don't remember what it's called. I just know it's the one that has a twist similar to Doki Doki's. And one of the heroines looks like Super Sonico. Because from what I understand, it becomes an October-themed story. So, let's see. So, that's everything for the normal room talk video experience. So, if that's all you wanted, feel free to leave. Actually, here, I'm going to unclose this door because someone else got here. And this is something I'd rather keep. I mean, they know what happened. I would just feel comfortable doing it. But yeah. Anyways, but if you want to just go ahead and leave after this, you don't want to get the more personal shit, the more intense shit, feel free. No judgment. Totally get it. That's fine. If you want to stay, here it is. A reason these past couple weeks have been like really rough is just a kind of slew of family emergencies. First, it was my cat. He started peeing on my clothes, which sounds like it's something that would just be annoying, and it is. But I know that whenever he does that, it means he's actively sick. So I took him to the vet. They checked him, like, okay, yeah, he's got, like, an infection. Here's some medicine you have to give him. So I had to take care of him. It was not cheap. But I got to do it for him. I love my cat. And he had a follow-up appointment scheduled. Excuse me. And I was talking to my mom about it. And she's like, if he took his meds, if he's doing okay, you really don't have to do the follow-up. Like, if you really want to, go for it. But if you think he's okay, you don't need to. And I was like, okay, then I probably won't. And then the next day, he was just throwing up everywhere. And I was like, okay, he's very clearly not okay. I think that was like Friday or so. I think it was Saturday. And then when I woke up Sunday morning, he had thrown up some more. When I woke up Monday, he had thrown up some more. So I still took him to the vet. It seemed like he's... Like, let me say it like this. He's not, as far as I am aware, he is not in any kind of immediate danger. I'm not having to put him to sleep or anything. But it's like, that's, again, was not cheap. And he's not 100%. And so, like, I'm just like, I wish my cat wasn't sick. That's not great. Last week, on Wednesday, I find out that my mom is in the emergency room. And for a while, I don't even know why, because I'm not. Apparently, she was trying to get in contact with me, but there's some, like, the hospital has really weird reception and service. So I was not getting any of her calls or any of her texts. I got a call from, like, it was my dad or my sister. I don't remember who informed me. It's just like, hey, she's in the hospital right now. She's in the emergency room. So out of nowhere, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I was really stressed out about it. She had appendicitis, and it was just a lot of pain. So I was doing what I could for her. I live right across the street from the hospital. So I'm like, all right, whatever you need from me, I'm here. So then Thursday, she actually had the surgery, and the surgery went well. There were no complications. But I was very much just in and out of the hospital. Just like, I hope my mom is okay. I want to know what she needs. Like, what can I do? And just stressing and stressing and stressing. And then, like, I got into a fight with one of my family members about stuff related to that situation, which essentially came down to we both wanted the same things. We just didn't communicate it very well. But that lack of communication just really, really stressed me out even more. And then, like, I called them afterwards and was like, okay, like, I apologize for what I said. They apologized for what they said. It's like, this is what we both want. Are we good? We're good. Okay, fine. But, like, head was not in a good place. Like, emotions were not in a good place. It was rough. Then Friday, I found out that my dad has pneumonia. And he's like living across the country because right now he's in North Carolina. Like, my parents aren't like, they're technically separated because they are living in different places, but they're not like legally separated or anything. It's just my dad's like, look, I love North Carolina. That's where I was born. That's home. So I like to go there every now and then and just spend some time like in my hometown and see my family. Your mom doesn't really like it, which is fine. I don't really like Oklahoma. It's like, it's not, like I said, it's like they're separated without like being separated. But it's also like he's all the way across the fucking country and now he's getting sick. I know pneumonia is bad, and I know like my dad's like lungs aren't good. So I'm getting really fucking worried about that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I remember I was talking to Clay Friday night. I was like, man, what's next? Who's next? Is it me? Am I gonna get fucking like bitten by a brown recluse and then I'm gonna wake up with like a corroded leg or some shit? I don't know. Whatever's gonna happen on Saturday is probably not gonna be good. And it wasn't. Um, I had a death in the family. I don't want to go into any specifics about that, but there was a suicide in my family last weekend. Um, it's a weird thing to experience for me. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, it's a weird thing to experience, period, full stop. But I've talked about my mental health on this channel before, specifically on my birthday video. Um, so I mean, I didn't see it, thank God, but experiencing someone in my family doing that and seeing how everyone reacted, like just the hurt, the confusion. It's just like knowing that I almost did that to my family. It was like, it hurt. It really, like, the actual event hurt too. Like, I don't want to be like, oh no, like that, like how I felt was like way worse or anything. Like, no, 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 no. But it's a weird thing to experience having tried to be on the other side of it, you know? It's the kind of thing that makes me think like I hadn't seen them, and like I saw them a few weeks ago, but I hadn't been like super close to them as of late. Like, I thought we were fine. Like, I dapped them up the last time I saw them, but it's like I had no idea they felt that way. Seems like a lot of other people were like completely caught off guard. And I'm like, how did no one know? But then I also think, I'm like, well, I know better than anyone how easy it is to keep that kind of shit hidden. But just like hearing my mom call like her side of the family and just letting people know or having other people call and be like, I just heard the news. and talking, like praying for us. And a little bit, again, I don't want to go into details, but learning what happened and like who found them and like the like order of who found them and everything. Like, oh my God. I definitely cried. I've cried more than once. I've cried just like hearing other people's reactions. I've cried while like thinking of my own actions. And again, like there's the part of me that thinks I've tried to do this, but I was lucky enough for it to not stick. And things for me, I would say, have gotten better. They've improved. There's some aspects that still kind of suck, but that's the nature of the beast. That's what life is. It's not sunshine and rainbows, but there can be sunshine. There can be rainbows, and it's knowing that it's like he won't get that anymore. For him, there is no better. There's no hope for something better. There's no working towards something better. There's just nothing. Like I was driving home from being with my mom, and I was thinking about this, and I was like talking through my thoughts to myself out loud. And that's when I just like broke down crying. And then, oddly enough, after I was done crying, the song that started playing on the radio was In the End by Linkin Park, which didn't make me feel better, but it didn't make me feel worse either. Like, it was almost kind of both at the same time. It was bizarre. I remember a lot of that afternoon and that night, the weather was awful. Like, just pouring rain. There was thunder. There was lightning. Like, I had a Zoom call scheduled with some of my friends. It's like, I'm not going to say anything about this during the call. I don't want to get into that. Like, one of my friends is talking about how I don't even want to go into that. That's not really my business to talk about. But like, I got some news from him that, without going into details, that was like on any other day, this would have absolutely broken my heart and been the worst thing I heard. And any other week, this would have been like the worst thing I've heard this week. And then today, it like barely registers. Like, what the fuck, man? I remember like I got home, like I talked to Clay. I was like, I want to just be able to fully just kind of unload and like talk. And I think that'll help. And it did. I definitely cried a lot then too. And the next day I went to work. And that helped me a lot. I think it was just trying to have a normal routine and like just do something, because I basically spent all of Saturday just not really doing anything. Like, understandably so. But just like, I can't. Like, I remember at one point reading Dune and being like, I don't care. Like, this book is really good and everything, but it's like, no, like, this is doing nothing for me. I can't. But going to work and getting into like that normal routine helped me a lot. And I specifically remember pretty early on in my shift, Clay was cooking something. And I felt like maybe he was cooking something like for dinner, maybe for lunch, maybe he's like cooking a late breakfast or something. I remember asking him, I was like, hey, like, what are you making? He's like, I'm making your dinner. And I'm like, oh, like, thank you. I really appreciate that. What are you making? And he tells me he's making oxtail stew. And something you may or may not know about me, I don't think I've ever brought it up, so I doubt you would know it. I love oxtail, or as my grandpa calls it, swinging steak. Oxtail is like the fattiest fucking meat you will ever eat in your life. It's so tender. The bone, like there's so much like marrow and like more meat that you could just suck out of it. And I love just like I will slurp the shit out of oxtail. I love it. And when he told me that, it's like, yeah, like I know you're not doing well, so I got one of your favorite things to buy for you because I want to do something to make you feel better. I shit you not, my reaction, like my hand was just trembling. I didn't like say anything. I mean, eventually I did, but it's like it was just I wasn't crying or anything. Like I was just shaking. I've never trembled with gratitude before. That was a new one. I don't know if I've ever heard of someone trembling with gratitude. It was odd. I don't think I disliked the emotion. I hated the circumstances. But that was my last week. I guess that wasn't this week. That was last week. That was the September 21st week. Because like I said, September was a month that for me was very productive. I got a lot of things done, crossed a lot of things off my list. But it felt very off. Like it almost felt cursed throughout part of it. And then by the end of that, like last week, I was like, yeah, this feels actively cursed. And it ended in, I can really say, is like the worst possible way. But as possibly like cold-hearted and fucked up as this is to say, life does go on for the rest of us, those who are left behind. And getting back into a routine, going back to work, like recording my football videos, like here's my week in review, here's my looking forward to next week, here's my room talk video. Let's try to make sure, like I wanted to finish this chapter this week. I got it done. It does help. It doesn't mean that I don't feel grief, that I can still do things, that I can still enjoy things. I feel like just part of my personality is that when I love doing stuff. I love being able to throw myself into like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I've got my list of stuff. And it helps me a lot. But it's in those quieter moments where it's like, there's nothing to really distract me. I can be a lot more introspective about stuff, which sometimes can be very good, other times not so much. And it's like, yeah, those are the moments where I really think about it. And it sucks. That's an understatement. But any like prayers for my family would be sincerely appreciated. I hope your September was better than mine. I can't imagine it being worse, but it certainly could have. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make it like a competition, like, well, oh boy, there's no way someone had a worse month than me. It's like, it was not great, but there were still some great elements in it, and like, trauma is not a competition. Loss is not a competition. But I hope October ends up being a lot better, and I hope you have a fantastic October. And, I think I'm just going to go and play some Kuro and see how I feel. I think that's it. See ya.